In the meditation, I was feeling that everything is perfectly okay, but sometimes I feel this nagging, a desire to change something, though I don't know what. It feels strange because it seems to oppose the sense that everything is okay. I saw it come up a few times. It feels like an old habit, maybe, but it's not very comfortable.
I think you nailed part of it with the sense that it's an old habit. And so I think it can happen that as we see more of reality, as we live more in truth, we can be in a certain stage or phase where both things are happening. So, both meaning a more constant in touchness with reality, which is that okayness, and at the same time, something that's more attached into the illusion. And part of it just becomes undone on its own, and ultimately everything does, but happen on its own. But there's a possibility to see more at the subtler levels what's happening. And so, in a sense, that let's say that longing for changing something, that desire for something to change. And I like that you say it's not clear what it is or what about. So the mind hasn't attached the narrative, and you haven't kind of bought into a narrative. That's a sign of seeing through the beliefs. Because what would normally happen is a narrative would be attached around what it is that needs to be done and solved and fixed. But when we remove the narrative, something remains, which is this, it's like a unrest, a kind of sensation of a certain deep, subtle unrest. And ultimately, at the source of that is still the belief in separation, but it's a much more subtle level. And so it's trickier to kind of untangle. But it will happen on its own. I'm just kind of nudging in the direction of stay open to see more subtle aspects of that. And also see how in life that also can manifest in certain lifestyle choices that might be stemming from that unrest.
It feels like addiction arises from it.
Yeah, addiction and certain preferences that are actually not real or not deep. For example, addiction is a preference that's not real or deep, but it could be anything, so I can't really just say. But if I try to remember how that appeared for me, it would be, for example, I don't like cold weather, which I still don't, but it used to be a big problem. And so there was this kind of preference that was um, kind of out of place. And it's hiding some form of resistance that's hiding a certain identification with certain ways of body-mind states.
When I'm not meditating, it's not as obvious, but I feel it can arise at any time. It doesn't begin with a desire, it simply arises, and then anything could follow, like the urge to do something different or to change.
Yeah, the desire is tricky because there's different kinds. And so there's desires that are, let's say, harmonious, they're aligned, they're deep, they're not coming from that, what do you call, well, I call it this unrest. And then there's desire that comes from the unrest, which is how to kind of fix it, which is actually what keeps it going. But there are desires, so that's why as we kind of deepen in this, you can start distinguishing what desires are, let's say, neurotic or based on this sense of separation and stemming from that sense of separation, versus desire, which is the life force, it's the universal desire. It's very much stemming from the body mind, in a sense that it's the core of it. It's what loves, which is very unique.
Is there like a grey area in the middle of that distinction?
It's gray in that it's tricky to see in the middle. But ultimately, once all of that is free and is seen, it doesn't matter too much. That middle, that's kind of the it's a creative place where that can be explored. It becomes playful.